Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Brian.
And we're with Universal Industrial Supply. And today, we're going to show you the complete process to fill our vending machines.
When you arrive on site, before you enter the premises, you want to call Jeff and let him know that you're there. Once you've notified Jeff that you're there, you want to go in, you want to find the receptionist, and you want to sign in. You want to tell him, "Hi, I am Brian," or your name, and say you're from Universal Industrial Supply, you're here to fill the vending machine. Once you say that, you're going to let them know who your designated contact is, and they will get the designated contact for you. The designated contact will then show you where the shipments of boxes or the product that you're going to fill the machines are. They'll also give you the keys to the cabinet and the vending machine and the iPad.
So we got our packages back from the safety, and they led us to the machine in our cabinet. And we're going to set our boxes down, and we're going to start to check the product in. The first thing we're going to look for is the packing list. So it's going to be somewhere here on the box. And if you notice right here, it'll be in a little window, packing list enclosed. Now take notice here, on the box, there's a little label, specified vending. And up here it says 1 out of 2. That means we got this is package 1 out of 2 packages. So if you have 2 packages and it says 2 out of 3, that means you're missing one. And the first thing you're going to do, call Jeff. Now, once we have our packing slip identified, we're going to go ahead and go open it up. And this is going to tell us what products have we been shipped, what we should be expecting in these 2 packages. So let's take a look here in our first box. All right, so we're going to notice that we're going to pull out this first glove here. You're going to notice that we're going to see a label somewhere on here. So if you don't see a label right away, just look around and you're going to find it. So this one says TL-SA-0006 medium. So I'm going to look here on my packing slip and I'm going to find that part number. So I've identified TL-SA-006 medium. And it's telling me that I've been shipped 36 pairs. So I see here, let me see how many I got. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got a dozen right here. Good. Let me open this here. TLSA-0006 medium. I've got a dozen here. So that makes 24. Let me get another one here. Same thing, TL-SA-0006 medium. Another dozen. I got 36 now. So now I'm going to go back to my packing slip and I'm going to make a check mark right by that item, denoting we got everything that we've been shipped. Everything is good. We're going to move on to our second item here after we have our first one checked in. So we're looking here, and you're going to notice that in box 1 we're going to have a second packing slip, which is going to contain all the same information as the first one. That's just in case receiving or somebody takes the first packing slip. We always got 2, just so you can check that, just in case. So we're going to have this here. So we're going to move on to our second item. We're going to look in here, and we're going to pull out the first item here. It's a TL-SA-0007-LG. We're going to find this here on our packing slip. We've got it. It looks like we're looking for 36 pairs. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got our first dozen right here. We're going to continue looking in here. Same item. I've got another dozen here. We're up to 24. I'm going to pull out another item here where we got another TL-SA-0007-large. I have 6 here. I'm expecting 36. So I'm supposed to have another 6 pairs here. I've been shorted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on my packing slip 30. That's how many pairs this item I have. I'm gonna mark 30, and I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna open up the second box here and continue checking in the rest of my product. We finished opening up and checking in the rest of the product. Everything else is good. We've checked everything else off our list, but we're still short 6 pairs of the TL-0006- So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our tablet, take a picture of a packing slip. We're gonna write down, we've received 30, and we're gonna send it to Jeff. We're gonna follow that up with a phone call to Jeff and let him know that we've been shorted. We finished checking in our product, now it's time to move to the cabinet. So we're gonna go ahead and unlock the cabinet and open it up. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our tablets and we're gonna go ahead and take a picture of the cabinet, send it off to Jeff. And the reason we're doing this is because we want a clean, organized cabinet, and we want to maintain a clean and organized cabinet. It makes everything easier for you, for us. It's a visual indication of how well things are being kept and how well the inventory is being kept. So keeping it organized and clean is the #1 priority. And that's why we're seeing a picture. So we're gonna move on here. We're gonna go ahead into our tablet and we're gonna pull up the inventory sheet. And we're gonna start to do an initial inventory of everything in the cabinet. We finished counting up our first item here, the TL-SA-0001, and we're going to go ahead in our tablet, in our before or starting fill count, we're going to go ahead and note the count. So I've just counted 49. I'm going to go onto my tablet for that item, TL-SA-0001, and I'm going to type in 49. And I'm going to move on to my second item. 67, 68, 69. I'm going to go ahead and mark this quantity in here. That's 69 pairs. And we've completed our initial starting cabinet inventory. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our newly received product and we're going to place it into the correct spot in the cabinet. So I have my first item here, TL-SA-0006 medium. I'm going to put it, you see the label here? I'm going to go ahead in this spot and I'm going to put it where it's supposed to go. And I'm going to go ahead and do this for all the products. Make sure they're put correctly away in the right spot and move on.
Now it's time to update the fill sheet. To get to the fill sheet, you're going to use the iPad. Look for the green icon with the X on it. It should be on the home screen on the quick taskbar. If not, you should be able to find it on, if you swipe left or right on one of the other pages with icons. So we're going to tap the Excel button, let that load up. And sometimes it'll take you right back where you were last time. So we're going to go back up using the arrow, click open, and then we're going to go up here to this OneDrive personal option up here at the top. For this tutorial, we're going to go to locations here, main, and then to Kumi. Alright, then once you get to this folder, there's fill sheets, and then there's some folders by year, and inside those year folders there should be subfolders by month. So we're going to go to the fill sheets, and we're going to open up a fill sheet. These ones here are the templates. We don't want to erase these or change these, so once you've opened one up, we're going to click here, this version 2 one. The first thing you're going to want to do is use the three dots up in the top right hand corner, and you're going to go down here to save a copy. Okay, we're going to change the name here. So we're going to call this Takumi fill sheet. We're going to give it a name of today's date, like this. I'm going to erase the master out of this. So this is Takumi fill sheet 10/21/2020. And then we're going to put this in the 2020 folder, and then the October 2020 folder, and then hit save. Okay, now it's important to note here at the very top of the screen that it says Takumi fill sheet 10/21/2020. So that means we're not on the master, we are on the copy that we made, so we're good to go. So from here, you're going to go to the machine that you are going to adjust, which down at the bottom left, you'll see some different tabs. For Takumi, like this one here is machine 200. These are the machine IDs that are in Cribmaster. So we have 200, 201, 202. If the machine has a description in Cribmaster, it'll be up here in this section that I just highlighted. See this one here, machine 200 has Takumi pound 200 floor. If we go over here to 201, it says 201 floor. 202 just says 202. I know that some of the machines in different areas say, could be toolbox, pro lock. Some places they're labeled by the department that they're in, but that's there to help you if you don't know the actual machine number. So we're going to go back here to machine 200. We're going to act like we're doing this for real. So one of the first things you're going to do once you've opened the machine is go to this in coil column, and you're going to enter in the current inventory amount in the machine per coil. So once you've tapped on the cell, like there I've tapped on it, you can see the little line flashing. It brings up the keyboard. You're going to see here right above the keyboard on the right hand side there is the green ABC and then the 1, 2, 3. If you click on the 1, 2, 3, that's just going to give you a numeric keypad with some up and down arrows. It makes this a little bit quicker as you're going to key in this information. So it's important here to go down and key in all of the amounts per coil. We're going to So we're going to say that one had 10, it was still full, we'll hit enter. And this one had 3, this one had 0, and then 0, and then 0, and then 0. It's very common for like there to be a couple coils or a few coils with some product in it, and then the rest of the coils 0, because it typically will empty one whole coil in the machine before it moves on to the next. So we're just going to go down through this, act like we're, this is the counts that we had. And this one will be, we'll say this was still 10. There was 8 in that one. And then there was 0. That one had 10. Okay. So you're going to continue to go down through the whole list of all the items and get those quantities updated. As part of your vending site visit, you will be checking the cabinet inventory if there is a cabinet on site. Some customers have an on-site inventory cabinet that we keep stock in. It's used for emergency supplies for the customer and also as a replenishment point for the vending machine. So we'll once again open up the Excel on the iPad, and for this example we're going to go to OneDrive Personal again. We're going to use Melissa's folder down here. She's got the right city, and we're going to go to the master fill sheet for Wright City. And as you can see down here, there's a cabinet inventory tab. And this cabinet inventory tab has the universal part numbers, the Cribmaster part numbers, and just some description. And it has a starting and ending inventory. So it's important to do the starting inventory before you bring in the new product that you've brought with you on site or that was shipped on site and it was waiting for you. So you would quickly go through and count each item and enter the values here in the starting inventory column. So, let's say, for instance, we didn't have any of those on site. We didn't have any of those, but we had, we'd say we had 24 pair of those and 36 pair of those. Let's see, the X's mean that there's probably a discontinued item. And you just fill this out based on the counts of what is actually in the cabinet when you arrive. Now, once you've actually completed your fill, you've received your product, and then you've actually done the fill into the machine, any of the extra product that's left over from the fill that doesn't end up into the machines would go back into this cabinet to be used for next time, or if there's a potential emergency stock out situation for the customer. And then you would go back here. As one of your final steps before you leave is you would go through and you would do a recount of the ending inventory of what's left in the cabinet after you have filled the machine and put in the new inventory that you brought with you. So let's say we had 6 pair left over here, and then we had let's say we didn't have any extras here. We had just enough, and we use some of these to go into the machine. So you would just fill this out using the counts that are in the machine in the cabinet at the end. And the reason why this is important is to have the starting inventory and the ending inventory is in that event where the customer does have to use the items in this cabinet in an emergency situation. We need to be able to know that they took out X amount of product so that way they can be billed. And then conversely, we need to know how much product is in there next time. So when we go to do our replenishment, we know how much is on site so we don't ship too much extra product and cause excess shipping. Now, it could come a time when something may happen. Maybe the iPad is lost internet connection, or you have poor Wi-Fi signal, but are times when the Excel file may become unresponsive, or other applications may be unresponsive. And to fix that issue, we would close the program. In order to actually do a hard close on an iPad, what we're going to do is the circle button at the bottom of the iPad, we're going to double click that, and you're going to get this view here that has all of the open programs. And to close the Excel, it's simply all you have to do, or what other program you need to, you simply just need to swipe that up. Every time we swipe one of these up, that closes the program. So right now we've closed everything out. We're back to the beginning. We can click back onto our Excel file, and see, it took us right back in. It knew where we were at, so it tried to bring us right back to what we were doing. So now we can go back to where we were and start editing the data. When you're entering the numbers, it's pretty helpful. As you see here, there's this towards the right hand side, there's the ABC 1 2 3 button. Obviously the ABC is the keyboard. If you tap 1 2 3, you get a numeric keypad. So we're going to put in some numbers as if we were had just got done verifying all the coils. So we're going to say like there was 8 in this one, and 5 in this one, and 2 in this one, and so on. You would go through and you would fill all these out. And this is all done before you fill. All right, once we're done filling, and we're going to go back here, or as we fill, we're going to say, okay, in this coil we put 2. In this coil we put 5. Typically, we're going to try to bring the in coil plus the filled to equal the coil size. When we do our fills, I know that there are times when we do not have enough product to do that. And that's okay. So we will just put in however much we fill. So let's say in this case we didn't have enough of these safety glasses. So we had 2 in the coil, we only had 4. So we're going to put 4 in the machine. So that really brings us to having 6 in the machine. So you just go through here and fill this out. It's very important that you make sure this is as accurate as possible. The numbers you enter here impact how much the customer is billed. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to accurately bill our customers.
We've just completed putting our newly received product into the cabinet. Now it's time for us to start filling the machine.
Before we open up the machine, we're going to go ahead and take our before fill picture and send that off to Jeff. And we're going to send that off, and we're going to go ahead and open up the machine and start our inventory count. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open up the machine. You stick the key in. Once you twist, you go left or right. The T handle will pop out. You can take the key out, put it in your pocket, twist counterclockwise, and you can, if you pull back, you'll know when you went far enough. All right, we're good. We're going to open it up. We're going to go ahead and pull out the top tray. This is tray 1, tray 2, all the way down to tray 7. And then the coils are 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10, depending on how many coils there are in each one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a picture of the tray, and we're going to start our count to see what's in the machine. So I'm going to grab my iPad here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. And then we're going to go into Excel, into the fill sheet, and we're going to start at coil 1-1, which is tray 1, coil 1, and we're going to do in coil count, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. If you hit return there, it's automatically going to take you down to the next line. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to put a 7 in there, return, and there's nothing in the rest of the tray, but you got to fill something out, so there has to be a number in there, so we're going to go ahead and put zeros in there. And now we're going to start filling. So I am looking for TL dash, well, it could be different depending on what machine you're filling, but I'm looking for TL dash SA0006 size medium. Once you locate those, we're going to go ahead and start filling. I'm going to grab my iPad here, and as I fill, I'm just going to go ahead and type in what I'm filling. So I put 1 in the first coil, 1 in the second coil, and I'm just going to keep going as I fill. When you fill, you want to fill from the front to the back. because if you don't have enough of an item, the product has to be in the front so that it dispenses. There can't be any gaps in the front. The gap has to be in the back.
Okay, so you have gotten all of the inventory values of what is currently in each coil of the machine, or in the case of a locker setup, and what is inside of each locker. The next is you're going to key in the data for the amount of product that you actually put into the machine. So hopefully you brought enough product or were given enough product to fill the machine back to capacity. That's a best case scenario, but there are cases where we don't have enough to do that. So we're going to go through here, like this one here. This first coil has coil size 10, and it already had 10, so obviously we should have put none in that field. We would have put 7 here, and then 10. You just continue going through all this, entering the data of how many items you actually placed into the machine. You're going to continue down through the entire machine to get everything updated, and then you'll continue to do the same scenario on any other machine that you have for the vending site that you're at. Like in this case, Takumi, looks like they have 3 different machines. So you would go here to machine 201 once you're finished with the machine 200, and it's, that machine's cleaned up. It's already back into production. You've got all the product in. You've updated your inventory. You've cleaned up your site. Then you move on to the next one, and repeat the same process until you get all the way done. Then when you get done, there's the Takumi. In this case, this is it's a summary sheet. So this will give you a list of everything by machine that you put in. They'll sum up how much you put in, and it should help let you know if you were off in any case. In some cases, it would be good. You may not, like we said, we may not have enough product to put all the way in. If you put in too much product in here, it'll let you know that you overfilled a coil, which is not going to be good for vending, because then the machine will continue to try to vend a coil until it gets to 0, even though it didn't have that much product in it. So if you adjusted the inventory to 10 in the system, it only holds 8. It's going to continue to try to spin and give out 2 more extra items than is in there, causing customers to complain and having to contact us about misfins. So it's important that we keep the numbers accurate and correct. That's going to minimize frustration for the customer, minimize the amount of calls, and just overall help us to do better for ourselves and for our customer.
Got it. So we got the first tray all the way filled. We got the fill sheet in Excel filled out. We're going to go ahead and take a picture of that tray filled. And we're going to put the tray away. We're going to move on to the second tray, and we're going to do the same thing. So we got this one filled, the fill sheet filled out, and we took a picture. We're going to move on to the next one. If you see a coil like this is in the perfect position. That one's in a good position. These all look pretty good. This one is bad. If you see, it's right here. Don't just spin the coil like that because you're going to get the motor out of position. So what you want to do is you want to reach all the way to the back, pull it out, spin it while it's out, and then put it back in with the motor there. And now we're in a good spot. And we're going to continue filling, taking pictures before and taking pictures after. So we're going to move down to this one. Sometimes when a glove is vended, it will bounce and it will bounce back up on the top of another tray. If that happens, go ahead and put it where it goes and count it like it was in the right coil. So we're going to go ahead and put that one there, and we're going to keep continuing taking pictures first and filling out our fill sheets and then taking after pictures. When you're putting a glove in like this, like a knit glove that's not in packaging, you want to make sure that the opening of the glove is facing your right when you're looking at the machine. The reason we do that is when you have a glove facing left and this coil comes around, it can get caught on the inside of the glove and it can cause it not to vent properly. When you're doing glasses, you want to, if there's extra packaging, you want to put that extra packaging down. And you can kind of feel when you put the glasses in, they'll sit perfectly in there, but all that extra packaging facing down, and you want to get them facing the same way. I'm going to show you the other kind of glasses. Those are the bigger ones, the Tour Guards. They don't use those as much as these ones. On these ones, you want to put the packaging down, but when you put it in, you're going to feel it secure itself. The nose piece of the glasses is going to secure itself under the coil. I filled this last tray, and we don't have enough of the last 3 items. And like I said earlier, if you don't have enough of an item, make sure you put the product in the front and you leave the hole at the back. So we filled out our Excel sheet. We're good there. We're going to take one final picture. And that's our after picture. And I'm going to go ahead and send those off to Jeff all at the same time.
In 16020. These data that you input onto the different machine IDs all gets added up over here to the summary sheet. As you can see the total number that was filled versus the site's capacity. And it gives us a variance here if we didn't fill as much as we could have, or it'll also let us know if we overfilled a certain slot. Alright, we're done with that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to send a copy of this to Jeff. So we're going to hit send a copy from the little square with the arrow up here. We're going to send it to Jeff. J. And we'll just put here that this is a test. But normally you would say, OBE, Warrenton, or whatever the site name that you're at, and maybe put the date. Let's just do it. So this was True Light. New Berlin. We're going to put our date in here. So you see the file is attached. We're going to send this to Jeff. Bam, it's on its way.
So we got the machine filled, we got the fill sheets filled out, we took all our pictures, we're ready to lock up the machine. You want to do one last check to make sure that no gloves are falling over, everything looks neat, they're in there properly. We're good. We're going to go ahead and close it up. When you spin this, if the teeth don't start catching, it's because the door's not closed all the way, and it's probably just a leveling problem with the door. So if you kind of push up on it, you should get it to go in. And then you had caught there, so just keep spinning it. And if you try to close it and it closes, you're good. If you try to push that in and it doesn't close, that means you got to keep spinning. So we just locked up the machine. Now we're going to go to the front ATR computer and we're going to input the inventory so that it matches exactly what is in the machine. So how we're going to do that is we're going to find our username, we're going to log in. We're going to go to admin. We're going to go to adjust. And we're going to start with the ID number. You'll see the first 5 digits is the actual machine itself. So that there's only one machine here, then that's all going to be the same. The second digit is the tray number. So if you see here, you'll have 1 all the way down, and then you'll start seeing 2s. All the ones with that first 1 is the top tray, and then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 10, and then you'll see the second tray. So the number that we're going to put in here is what is exactly in the machine. We're not worried about what was there prior. It has to match what is in the machine after we filled. If it does not match, then there's going to be vending problems, because if you put the wrong number in, the machine is going to think that there's something in there that's really not. So we're going to go in here, we're going to highlight the line that we're adjusting, and we're going to go over to adjust, and we're going to type in the number that is in there, and we're going to hit enter. And we're going to go down to the next one, adjust, type in the number that is in there, enter. We're going to do that all the way down the machine. You can either drag here, or you can use the page down, and you're going to continue filling out the entire machine. So I just updated the rest of the machine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to log out, and that was the top right there, and now we're going to refresh down here at the bottom right. And you'll see some retrieving options, you'll see some loading stuff. We're going to wait for all these notes at the bottom to go away, and then we're going to log back in and just make sure that it took all the quantities and double check to make sure all the quantities are matching what is actually in the machine. So there's nothing here, so we're going to go ahead, we're good to log back in. Type in our password. Admin at the top. Go back to adjust. And if you look at the quantities, you're going to check with the iPad and make sure that everything in the quantities match exactly what's in the machine. And you're going to scroll down with the scroll, or you can use the page down and just make sure that it took all the quantities and they're all right. Once you've checked and it's all right, we're going to make sure we log out, and we're good to go.
So at this point, you have done your cabinet counts and inventory to check the beginning inventory. You've received your product. You've taken the coil counts in the machine, verified any errors in the machine, and have the machine open, and you possibly have already filled the machine. The most important and crucial part now is to log in and adjust the quantities in the computer on the vending machine. So to do that, You will log in using your account or the universal employee account. So you'll find that in the list. You'll click on it. We'll put in a password. At some sites, there may be a RFID card or a badge that you'll be able to use to log in. This particular demonstration, we're using a username and password. So once you've logged into the machine, you see here a list of the items that are available in the machine. So the first thing to do is to go to the, oh, that's a good point. If you don't do anything for too long, it will time out on you. So we're going to do that again. Sign in. So here's a list of our machines, our items in the machine. We're going to go ahead and go to the admin function. One of the first things we're going to do here is we're going to click on adjust. Now, the important part here is a couple things. Probably at least once a week, you'll want to do a home all motors. What this does, we've spoken about before, is this puts all the motors in their proper starting position. Sometimes over the course of time, they may get out of position, but this puts them back in position. When you do this, it is possible that product may drop if the motor is too far out of position. So you got to be ready for that. Once the product drops, all you got to do is pull the machine out, or the tray out back, and put the product back in the back of the coil. So what we'll do now is we're going to go to the adjust. And typically what we'll see here is all these columns will have different numbers in them. So the numbers that you put in here will be the number that is actually in that coil. Not how much you filled, but what is actually in the coil. So if you have a coil of 8, hopefully you filled it up to 8, and that's what we will put in here. So you will click on the field, you'd hit adjust, type in the number that you want, and hit enter. 8, and enter. And then we'll go down to the next item, and you hit adjust, and you put in the number that's actually in the coil and enter. And then you just keep going all the way down through each coil, entering in the data for the actual inventory that is in that bin. So 8, and enter. And you'll go through every coil, every product that's in here, and make sure that the numbers that are here accurately match what is really in the machine. By doing that, will help make sure that product is dispensed properly. If you don't put a big enough number in here, like let's say you only put a 4 here, but there was actually 8, then the customer is going to see at some point that there is still gloves in there that they can't access because it thinks that there's 0 because it's already dispensed 4 of the 8, but there's still 8 more. Also, you also want to make sure that you don't put a number that's too great. It is possible. Unfortunately, the software will let you, if this is an 8 count coil, it will actually let you put in the number. Let's punch in a higher number. Let's say we put 12. It will let us do that, unfortunately. And what would happen here is the coil physically only can hold 8, so it's going to dispense those 8, but it's still going to think there are 4 more items in that coil, and it'll keep trying to dispense 4 more items out of that coil till it's empty. So what we'll get is we'll get a customer calling and complaining that they're not able to get product out of the machine when it's actually we've made a mistake on adjusting our inventories and we put the wrong value in. Once you're done updating all of your quantities to the proper amount, we will just log out, and the computer is now updated. Hopefully at this point you've gotten your inventory counts in the cabinet done. Everything is updated in the machine. The machine is full. and now you can close up the machine, and you're pretty much done with filling the machine and adjusting inventory. At this point, it's pretty much time to clean up and notify Jeff.
We've just completed filling the machine, closing the machine up. Now it's time for us to do our final inventory on the cabinet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on our tablet, we're going to go back to our inventory sheet and start the process. We're going to do a final count. What is our ending inventory after the fill? So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our inventory sheet. There's a end count or a final count on our sheet, and we're going to start to do an inventory. So we see here the TL-SA-0001, we have nothing left. We just put everything into the machine. We're going to find it on our inventory sheet here. We're going to mark a 0, and we're going to move on to the next item.
We just finished filling the machine. We sent our pictures to Jeff, and we sent our pictures of the final inventory count to Jeff. We're going to go ahead and call Jeff and let him know we're ready for him to check our work. While he's checking our work, we're going to go ahead and break down any boxes and make sure that the work area is as clean, if not cleaner, than when we arrived. If it's your first time on site, you're going to check with your designated contact. That could be the safety person, that could be the plant manager, to see where you should dispose of any boxes. Usually that's the dumpster. Once you dispose of the boxes, you are going to wait for a call back from Jeff before you leave the premises. Jeff is either going to call you and say, hey, we need to double check something, or you're free to go. Once you're free to go, you need to make sure you sign out wherever you signed in. Once you've signed out, you're good to go. All right, I'm going to go over some wiring in here. It's not often, but it does happen that you'll get like a comm error, which is a communication error, or you will get, say we get, the customer calls us and says the screen is black, which usually means it's not getting power. We're going to go over the comm error first. Usually the comm error problem either means this right here. I'll go ahead and unplug it. It looks like a headphone jack, and usually this comes undone. They're not secured in there. What this does is it connects another machine, and that other machine, the wire runs from that machine down through this one into the ATR, the computer system. If the screen is black, the most common thing, can you go down here, is this box right here. This will come unplugged, and we just got to make sure we got a tight connection there. And there should be some Velcro where you can connect that back. And those are the two most common errors. All right, I'm going to go over how to change a motor. And often we have a customer that wants different items in the machine. So I'm going to show you, this would be for like a bigger item. And if the customer requested that they want a different item in that's smaller, like this, I'm going to show you how to take this coil out, add a divider wall like this, and also add an additional motor. So how you do that, first thing you do is you pull from the back and you pull from the front, not too hard, like half force, and the coil will come out of the motor. And if you see this, I'm going to show you how to take this plastic clip off. This connects the motor to the coil. If you just twist here, there'll be a groove and it'll just come right out. So that's that. Now we're going to get to the motor. And if you see over here, there's a motor for each one. So what we're actually going to do here is we are going to see what motor this is, if it goes to the left one or to the right one. So first we're going to get the motor out, and then if you reach back, you'll see the the other plugs for the other motor. Usually, you can kind of tell that if the wires are over here, then this one goes to the far one because these wires aren't that far, and that's how the harness is done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab a motor. And so this is a motor. It has 2 plugs on it, and if you look closely, they are a different size, barely. And if you look at the wires, they are a little different size. So this one's my small one, and you're just gonna go ahead and connect that. Make sure you got a good connection. You should be able to feel it like go between the metal. And then we're gonna go through testing the motor, which we'll show you a couple times in the video. So I'm going to retest that motor. So that one's spinning, and I tested 3-0. So whenever you're changing a motor or adding a motor, this far left one is going to be 0, and then it goes all the way to 9. Usually this would be 1 on your sheets, and it would go to 10, but because it has to be 2 digits, it starts with 0. So to get this back in here, well, let me show you the other thing you got to look out for is how the other motors are in, because there's 2 positions that this motor can sit based on the item that's in it. Usually 90% of the time it's going to be in the low position. So if you reach back here, you want to just go like this, and there's grooves at the bottom. First you put the bottom in, the bottom 2 grooves, and then if you just push on the back, the top will come back in. Now once I get it into place, I always test the motor again, because when you're putting it back there, you want to make sure you didn't lose a connection. So we're going to go yellow button, tray setup is 1, and then 3-0, it's still working. So now we're going to try this one. This one should be 3-1, and it didn't work. Oh, see, my wire came off there. And they are pretty tight. You got to make sure once you get them on there, they tend to stay. So it's working. So as gentle as you can, you want to get that motor down there. Actually, what I'm going to have to do is take this one out real quick, get this one behind. The wire was in the way, so I couldn't. And you see how I'm lifting up on this other tray? I'm going to show you another way to do it if you have to do a lot of motors, but usually you don't have to do that. So let's go ahead and test these both again as I mess with them. That one's still going. And 3-1. All right, so that one, see this wire right here came off. Usually you can reach back here and feel it. Let's see if that did it. All right, so we're working. We're gonna keep testing this one. Obviously it keeps coming loose, so we wanna make sure we got it on there tight. The next step is, because we got 2 motors here, we're gonna put a divider wall in. We'll send these to you if you don't have them, and you'll get a work order that tells you step by step. But again, if you have any questions or you're confused and you know you watch the video and you still have problems, you can always call Jeff and he will walk you through it. To install a divider wall, you'll see grooves in the coil, or I'm sorry, in the tray. And if you just put it right in the center, in between the 2 motors, that's where it should go. You're going to find the holes in the bottom of the tray, and that's the ones that we want to go into. And if you look at the bottom of the divider wall, there's little slits to slide in. So all you do here, and there's a spring back here, is you go right in the middle of those 2 motors, and then you push back and you'll feel a spring, and then you just let it slide forward until it's in place. And then you wiggle it it's in place. So we're good there. Now we're gonna add our coils. So let me show you, we got a coil here. How to add this clip. Sometimes these clips break. You put the bottom in first. So you're gonna put the bottom, well, let me show you, this goes right there and then it twists. But in order to do that, you have to put the bottom in first and then twist. That will lock it into place. I'll show you from a different angle so you can see it. Put the bottom in and then twist, and now it's locked in. When you put the coil in, you can just slide it right in and it should be pretty close to where it goes. But if you look, it's gonna go right into the motor hole, and you're gonna align it and then just push and it's in place. We're gonna get this other one in and then we're gonna test them again to make sure they're working properly. Sometimes you gotta make sure it's going in right. All right, we're gonna go back in, hit the yellow button to test them. Test motor 1, and then 3, 0. So that one's working, and then we're gonna go 3, 1, and we're working there too. The final step is we will send you labels for the front of the tray. When you get these labels, you just put the top in first and put it just like that. And they are, if you have problems with them, you can peel off the back and they're sticky, but usually we can just put them right in there and we don't have any problems with them. Let me go ahead and show you, if you're doing a lot of motors or you have big hands and you can't reach back there, the way you can take out this entire tray, I'll pull it out and show you. Over here, there's a wiring panel for each of the wiring harnesses for all the motors, and they're numbered 1 through 7 or 1 through 6, depending on how many trays they are. And so what you do is you unplug whichever one you're working with, but you don't want to. You're gonna have to wire it back up there because it's gonna fall through. What you do is you lift up all the way at the back, and then you slide forward, and then the thing comes out, and then you'll pull this all the way out, and then once you do your changes, you put it back in and you kind of got to feed that wire back through. And then when you're doing it, you'll see teeth on the side of this tray. You just make sure that they're above the groove, and then you're going to hear it drop into place, and now you're back in place. Inside the machine, if you look in the door, you are going to see a little keypad with the screen here. This is where we do all of our testing of the motors, and you can clear errors. You'll see an error here. If somebody tries to vent something out and there's something wrong, either the glove was too tight, if it doesn't dispense properly, there will be an error here. And how you clear that error is up here, right here, you're gonna see a yellow button. That's gonna put you in test mode, and it's gonna go through a bunch of options here. And all these options are up here right on the machine. The older machines are, I believe, down there or on the side of the door, but they're easy to find. So once you hit that button, if you do have an error here, it will say, error, do you want to clear error? 0. So that's how you clear the errors. Now I'm going to show you how to test a motor. Say one of our customers said that they were getting a motor missing, and we'll show you what that error looks like. But how you fix that, or how you test that, is you go into test mode, which is this yellow button, and you got options here. Test motor 1. So now it says enter selection or star for multiple. So we're gonna test this one right here. So this is gonna be tray 1. So your first number is 1, and then this one is 0 all the way to 9. So we're gonna do 1, 3. Oh, I made a mistake. 1, 2. So it's working properly there. And if there's still an issue, the other thing to do is to test it from the outside of the machine. So we're going to show you that as well. So if we want to test the motor from the outside of the machine, we're going to log in. And we're going to go to admin, adjust, and this is where you go to do all your changes of updating the quantities in each coil. And all you're going to do is you're going to find that coil. So it's going to be 1, 3 here. It was 1, 2 from the inside control panel because it has to be 2 digits. You got to remember that. Once you have it highlighted, each item, see how I'm highlighting that? Once you have that one highlighted, you can hit open. And the motor is working because the coil is spinning. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to jog all motors. And what that's going to do is you can either jog just a tray, which is going to test each motor to make sure it's working properly, or you can jog the entire machine at once to make sure it's working. If you do the entire machine, it is going to dispense 1 out of each coil, or it's going to attempt to. And if you watch it, you're gonna watch each single one to make sure that it's moving. We're just gonna do jog the tray. So how you do that? You go into test mode, the yellow button, and then you're gonna go hit 1 for test motor, and then it's gonna say enter selection or star for multiple. We're gonna hit star, and then we're gonna jog tray. And then what it says enter tray, we're gonna go ahead and enter 1 for tray 1. Got it, so they're all working properly. So I'm going to show you how to home all the motors, and I want to tell you what that means first. Homing all the motors you want to do right when you get on site, right before you start filling the machine. The reason that you want to do it before you fill and not after is because a lot of the coils are going to move and product is going to dispense. So it's best to do it before. Homing all motors, what that does is the motors have a position, and all we are doing is making sure that that motor is in the correct position. And so I'll show you how to do that. And then the next step, after homing all the motors, you still have to make sure all of the coils are in the correct position. But we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to home all the motors. And like I said, you want to do that before you start filling. So I'm going to log in here. And then we go to admin. And then we're going to go to adjust. And then over here, the top one, home all motors. So you're gonna see, you'll start seeing some of the motors moving, and it's gonna go top to bottom. Slowly, there goes one right there. And if they're all home, if you do this like you're supposed to every week, it might be 1 or 2 motors. Next, I'm going to show you how to make the coil sit in the right position. So we have all the motors homed. Now we got to make sure that the coils are in the right position. This is where you really want it because it's not going to fall out. But if you see one like this, that's really bad. When it does a full spin, it's probably not going to fall. So what we do is we pull the tray out, and you don't have to take it all the way out. Some people prefer to take it all the way out, and you can do it with the item in there, or you can take the item out. And you pull from the back, like the last groove, and half force, and the coil is going to slide out. Then I just rotate to where I want it, and that looks good. And then you're just going to go ahead and find the hole for the motor, and then just slide it in. Sometimes you got to twist a little bit left or right just to find the groove, and there you go. So I'm going to do one more for you, like this one. Like I said, you can either take the product out. Sometimes you can just pull it out, move the motor, find the groove, and you're locked back in. And you should hear that. When you slide it back in, you should hear it click. Do it for you. Listen. Clicked. Okay, so that's what you want to do there.